I've talked a lot about the different in-game techniques you can do in Smash, both universally and for specific characters. But there is one thing outside the game you should absolutely prioritize when playing. Your controller. Ever since Brawl, Smash Bros. Has given you multiple options for controllers to use and what functions to assign to different buttons. I'll go over the most common controllers that competitors use, as well as my own personal choice. When it comes to competitive Smash, the default choice for most players is the GameCube controller. It's been a staple of Smash Bros. Ever since Melee. To this day, Nintendo still sells GameCube controllers specifically for Smash, alongside GameCube controller adapters. They have basically the perfect ergonomic structure and button layout for Smash. The A button is big and round to emphasize normal attacks, the B button is off to the side and isolated for special moves, and the jump buttons are uniquely shaped and next to each other on the opposite side for easy use. Both analog sticks have octagonal notches for easy 8-directional inputs, which can especially help with command inputs for the FGC characters. And the triggers and single shoulder button feel very nice to press for shields and grabs. The only real disadvantage is that you need an adapter to connect the GameCube controllers to a Switch for Smash Ultimate, which is sold separately. But there are several third-party options for adapters, like the Mayflash and Cloud Dream adapters. These adapters have built-in PC modes as well as compatibility with the Switch and the Wii U. There is also the issue that not every GameCube controller is built exactly the same. When Smash Ultimate first launched, Nintendo produced a new batch of black GameCube controllers with the Smash logo on the front. Smash 4 gave us black and white GameCube controllers with the fiery Smash 4 logo on the front. Then you have the original run of GameCube controllers from the Melee and Brawl eras. These ones just say GameCube on the front, and are the oldest GameCube controllers by many years. You can plug in any of these GameCube controllers to an adapter for Smash Ultimate. But if you don't already have a GameCube controller, your best chance of buying one today without breaking the bank is the Smash Ultimate controller. The older generations of GameCube controllers will set you back at least $100 for a used controller. Used controllers have no guarantee of quality, and new sealed units of old controllers are both rare and incredibly expensive. Even the Smash Ultimate controllers have become more expensive than they used to be, so be careful when buying one. Pro tip, go to Amazon Japan for better prices. Just be wary of their shipping rates. Up next is my personal choice, the Switch Pro Controller. This is Nintendo's version of a standard controller for the Switch, and is the other best choice for playing Smash Ultimate. It feels very good to hold in your hands with a nice ergonomic feel and a decent amount of weight to it. The face buttons are arranged neatly in a square, and the sticks, triggers, and shoulder buttons are well made and easy to press. I actually prefer the face buttons on the Pro Controller because the short hop macro requires pressing 2 jump buttons at once. I find it easier to press the X and Y buttons on the Pro Controller at the same time with one thumb, as opposed to the GameCube controller. I suppose the lack of octagonal notches on the Pro Controller's sticks can be an issue, but you can easily purchase third-party shells with these notches online. Another plus is that the Pro Controller is identical in button layout and design to the Xbox Series controller. Why is this good? Because I also play Smash Ultimate with an Xbox controller, on the Yuzu emulator, on my Windows laptop. There are indeed ways to play online multiplayer on an emulator, and Windows computers can accept Xbox controllers very easily by design. But that's a topic for another video. The main disadvantage to the Pro Controller is that using it wired somehow gives 1 to 2 more frames of input delay than using it wireless, which really doesn't make sense. so using the Pro Controller wirelessly is the better option. Having said that, some people like to make a big deal out of the differences in latency between GameCube and Pro Controllers. While it is true that different controllers have different amounts of input delay by 1 to 2 frames, I don't think it makes that big of a difference for most players. It's better to go with whichever controller is more comfortable for you to use. Overall, the Pro Controller is my go-to choice for Smash Ultimate, and it will likely stay that way for the next Smash, whenever that comes out. Another controller that's been gaining traction recently is the Smashbox. This is an arcade-style all-buttons controller that sits on your lap. It's supposed to cause less stress on your hands and wrists than a typical controller. There are several types of box-style controllers that exist, but the go-to Smashbox is made by the company Hitbox, and eSam has become a strong supporter of the Smashbox over the past year. I've never used it myself, so I can't personally vouch for its quality, but it is much more expensive than the average controller. You're basically buying another Switch with this price tag. It's also currently sold out on Hitbox's website, and there's no indication if or when they'll get another batch ready. There are other brands of box controllers, like Frame 1, also sold out, and the Box, which was designed for Melee. The biggest disadvantages I see are having to learn new muscle memory for a very different type of controller, as well as the price tag and availability for purchase. You might also have a difficult time carrying it around in tournaments. For most people, I'd recommend a regular controller instead. To be blunt, the Joycons are a joke. They're very small individually, and they're very prone to stick drift if you use them too much. And sometimes even if you don't use them much. The standard controller shell that's included with the Joy-Cons does help somewhat, but it's still not as good as a regular controller. They're small, fragile, and simply not built for input-intensive games like Smash. Unless you have absolutely no other option, I would not recommend the Joy-Cons at all. I never use them, not even for games other than Smash. There are multiple brands of third-party controllers you can buy both online and in stores. These are cheaper than the official Nintendo controllers, but they're also not as well made. Just like buying used Nintendo controllers, there's no guarantee of quality with third-party brands. I've never used third-party controllers myself for that very reason, because I don't want to deal with all that hassle over their build quality. I would recommend saving up for an official Nintendo controller instead. I previously mentioned that I liked using an Xbox controller on my Windows laptop to play Smash on an emulator. But if you feel like committing sacrilege and using PlayStation or Xbox controllers on your Switch, there is an easy way to do so. There are special Bluetooth adapters you can buy online that accept all different brands of game controllers. You can plug the adapter into your Switch and use the controller you want on that Switch, even if the controller is from a totally different company. I would say that the 8-bit Do wireless USB adapter is your best bet of achieving this. But if you plan to do this at a tournament, you may want to ask the TOs if it's allowed just to be safe. And that should about cover it. If you think there are any controllers that I missed, or if you want to say what your favorite controller is, leave your thoughts in the comments below. If you made it to the end of this video, leave a comment with a star emoji. Thanks for watching.